Good morning, everyone. We are just waiting for everyone to file in and we will start momentarily.
Good morning. I would like to welcome you to the third annual State of Bellevue College Breakfast. It is an honor to host you in this virtual format this year. I am Lisa Brock and I am the president of the Bellevue College Foundation Board. I want to thank you for the support that you have given us over the last year. We have had a great year. We were able to surpass our fundraising goals in the last year. Thanks to you and your support, we were able to award 191 students $405,000 worth of scholarships. We were able to fund 8 mini grants this year. These are programs that would have gone unfunded without your support. We were able to invest in a training program that is helping challenge students find employment post-graduation. We've been able to support our high school program and many other great programs at Bellevue College. We were also able to increase our endowment corpus by 20% over this last year. And this is all thanks to our generous donors, our President Circle and our corporate partners have made this all possible. So thank you for being here this morning. We are happy to share all the great things that are happening at Bellevue College, and I appreciate all that you do for Bellevue College. I am now going to introduce you to Rebecca Chago, who is our Interim Vice President of Institutional Advancement and our Bellevue College Foundation Executive Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you to all of you for your commitment to Bellevue College. I know meeting in this virtual format is not ideal, but I appreciate you taking the time out of your morning to visit with us. This year has been anything but ordinary. Students, faculty, and staff are meeting every challenge presented. I am truly in awe. But I do want to call out one individual in particular, Provost Kristen Jones. Dr. Jones stepped into the role of acting president during a pandemic and a conversion to online learning with an economic downturn amidst unrest on our campus and in our nation. She weathered all of this with strong and graceful leadership. On behalf of the entire Bellevue College community, I would like to say thank you to Provost Jones. A couple housekeeping items. This event is being recorded and will be available for viewing at a later date. Following Governor Locke's statements, there will be an opportunity for questions and answers. When that time comes, please use the raise hand function. And now, it is my distinct privilege to introduce Bellevue College's Interim President Gary Locke.
Thanks a lot, Rebecca. And let me just thank Lisa for her great leadership as the chair of the foundation board. And let me also echo our deep thanks to Kristen Jones for all of her work leading the college during a very tumultuous time. I know that, and first of all, let me just say I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their very busy schedule to attend today's State of BC. And I'm sure
Governor Locke, can you turn on your camera?
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought, okay, sorry.
Here we go.
Oh, okay, great. I thought you guys were controlling that. Okay, Again, let me just say thanks to everybody taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And I know that we wish we were all doing this in person. But one of the things I think we all missed in our new normal are the personal, casual conversations that spring up before or even after an event like this. But meeting virtually right now is the best way for all of us to safely come together. And so let me just say that I'll try to be as brief as I can so that we do leave time at the end for any questions that you might have and to provide any feedback. Before we dive into the business, I want to just take a moment to thank you for your unwavering support of Bellevue College. Your dedication and commitment have contributed to the success of this very remarkable institution. And I come to appreciate every day more and more just how amazing Bellevue College is. In a normal year, community support plays a very integral role in Bellevue College's success. But this isn't a normal year. And we need you now more than ever. And so many of you have stepped up. So thank you very much. Thank you for all the great work that you're doing, as Lisa indicated. The multiple crises that we're facing as a state and a nation have also had a tremendous impact on our campus. We're in the midst of a devastating pandemic with people out of work and so many businesses permanently closed. Inequity in terms of income has grown even more stark. Students from kindergarten to college are learning in a remote environment. My kids are at home. Bellevue High School they're teaching, well, my daughter's attending Bellevue High School remotely. And of course, my son, who's supposed to be at USC, is also at home attending classes remotely. We're seeing an incredible polarization of our people and our politics. And the national reckoning over systemic racism and demand for real change is very prominent. But there is hope. And when we're overwhelmed by social and economic upheaval, we need to remember that our open access colleges like Bellevue College were created for exactly moments like this. Open access colleges are equity machines. And we know that a college credential or degree is key to unlocking great careers. And the scope of our programs and the range of students that we serve are absolutely amazing. We make higher education both more affordable and accessible. Well, that's equity in action. And so all of us, community members like you and campus staff, are essential to this work. It's our work. And so thank you very much for bringing your time, your contributions, and your commitment to this partnership. So today I'd like to brief you on just 3 issues facing the college: the budget, diversity and systemic racism, and student success. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here. First up, regarding the budget, and to start off with the budget, I also want to talk about some good news. While many colleges in the state are seeing sharp enrollment declines, we're actually doing fairly well given the circumstances. Our summer enrollments were up 11% over the previous summer. And for this fall, total enrollments are down from last year by only about 2%, while the rest of the colleges in the state system saw an average drop of 17%. Our bachelor's programs are up 18% over last fall, twice the statewide increase. And indeed, our Bachelor of Science programs have grown by over 30% over just the last 2 years. Our Running Start program saw an 18% increase compared to, on average, no growth across the rest of the community and technical colleges in the state. You know, Running Start is just an unknown bargain in the state of Washington. Our Running Start program gives high school juniors and seniors the opportunity to take college courses in a college setting. And after 2 years, they graduate with a high school diploma, and then will already have 2 years of college credit under their belt, so they can, for instance, transfer to the University of Washington as a college junior, or they could stay at Bellevue College as a junior and pursue our bachelor's programs. And And best of all, Running Start is virtually free. So imagine finishing up your high school diploma as starting off as a high school junior, but taking your classes, high school classes on the campus, actually taking college courses on the campus, getting high school credit simultaneously, and finishing up when you graduate from high school with 2 years of college already under your belt. I mean, that is an incredible bargain. And then we also have our workforce development programs with enrollments that are up from last year. You know, with such high unemployment, we're seeing more non-traditional students coming back to the campus. While all of these programs have seen substantial enrollment increases, our overall enrollment is down slightly because of a huge decline in new international students due to visa restrictions on foreign students imposed by the Trump administration, the Department of Homeland Security, as well as concerns by foreign students over the safety in the United States with the coronavirus still out of control. That's a significant financial hit in terms of the out-of-state tuition that international students would pay. And that tuition actually helps subsidize the programs for our in-state Washington State residents. But even before the pandemic, Bellevue College and colleges across the state have been experiencing declining enrollments over the last few years. Bellevue College was already facing projected budget deficits over the next few years, with expenses of current programs exceeding expected revenues. This year, we've already been impacted by a damaging mix of state funding cuts caused by the downturn in the state's economy and thus lower tax collections, along with, as I mentioned, the lower tuition revenues from the international students. The state is forecasting a $4.3 billion state operating budget shortfall or deficit through 2023 due to the economic downturn. And to close this shortfall, state agencies, including the community technical colleges, have been told to prepare for 10 to 15% cut in state funding over the next few years. So while, as I indicated, we were already facing budget shortfalls at the college due to rising expenses and less than expected revenues, and now it's going to be even exacerbated with the announcement of cuts from the state. So in face of all these dynamics, we have to acknowledge that we just can't do everything we'd like to. And looking to future trends of education in the workforce and the needs of the community and our students, we know it's better to establish priorities and to do them well, rather than to try to do too many things in a mediocre or subpar fashion. We have to ask ourselves, what do we really value? What must we preserve, enhance, or even initiate? And so we really have some tough budget decisions ahead over the next several years. And so to address these budget issues, we need broad community input, and we need to have the best tables on the best ideas on the table. And that's why we formed a budget stakeholders group made up of faculty, staff, and students, as well as some external stakeholders like Lisa, who care deeply about the Bellevue College and the programs that we offer. This entire group is developing a list of or a set of aspirations that we should achieve over the next 3 to 10 years, specific investments we should make to achieve those aspirations, principles to guide our upcoming budgets, and specific ideas for both generating additional revenue as well as reducing costs. And we may have to make some tough decisions about what programs stay and which programs may have to be pared back. We're doing our part, but we also need to impress upon the leaders in Olympia that any strategies to recover our economy quickly must include investments in higher education. Because if students can't obtain the higher education skills needed to be competitive for careers among our local businesses, where will our employers turn to fill positions to keep your companies growing and prosperous and to keep our economy thriving? The second thing I'd like to turn to now is in the aftermath of the brutal killing of George Floyd and the national reckoning over systemic discrimination, Bellevue College is addressing equity, racism, and embracing the truth that Black lives do matter. As the remarkable Congressman George Lewis, with whom I had the great honor of working with in Washington, D.C., said, quote, "Freedom is not a state, it is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we must all take, and each generation must do its part to create an even more fair, more just society." Well, today our Black faculty, staff, and students are suffering in ways that the rest of us, even allies, can't truly comprehend. But we are dedicated to not merely talking about it, but to take action, to tackle the inequities and the injustices within and on our campus. We are renewing our commitment to end systemic racism and addressing its impact on individuals and indeed entire communities. Bellevue College must model and openly embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion within itself. And I'm proud to say that this is underway already. Since the spring, over 75 students and staff from all walks of campus life have been developing a proposal for equity training for all employees. And we're also implementing a 10-point framework proposed by an ad hoc committee of Black employees and students to address anti-Blackness policies and practices within our college, which will actually ultimately benefit other disadvantaged groups, communities, and people of color as well. Systemic racism is a cancer, too long ignored, that we must finally confront and attack. Left further unchecked, this cancer will immobilize us, sap our energies, and distract us from our mission, which is educating our students and helping them all achieve their dreams of a better future. Institutions of higher education play a critical role in studying and analyzing past and present societies and the components of an equitable society. But we as an institution must also lead by example, and Bellevue College fully intends to lead. Finally, I want to address student success. It's not enough for Bellevue College to simply enroll students. We need to get them all the way through to graduation, whether it's a certificate, an associate degree, a transfer degree, or even a bachelor's degree, whatever their objective. And we need to ensure that every student has the support they need to succeed, and we need to work toward equitable outcomes. Bellevue College joined the Achieving the Dream Network. It's a nationwide network to improve success for all students, especially low-income students and students of color, and to eliminate the gaps in achievement, the disparity in achievement. Our Guided Pathways initiative is an institution-wide approach to student success by helping students choose and stay on an educational path that will enable them to complete their degrees as quickly as possible, even if they're initially unsure of their so-called majors or what they want to concentrate on. Today, Achieving the Dream and Guided Pathways is our college's vehicle to higher student achievement. The work is imperative, and it needs to be undertaken with a greater sense of urgency, because the longer we take to realign our curriculum, to establish clear sequencing of courses, to develop new courses, and to modify requirements for degree completion, the more students will fall by the wayside or incur unnecessary time and expense attaining their educational goals. We're accelerating all of our Guided Pathways work by as much as a year and a half, and we intend to be done by the end of this spring so that we can institute all of the changes beginning next fall for the benefit of our students. Let me conclude by acknowledging that this is a lot to take in. Yes, we have challenges, but think of what our college has already accomplished and even our successes this year. And of course, we also have the dedicated support of community leaders like you and a wellspring of students eager to apply what they're learning to the challenges ahead. We will continue to face these challenges together, because we are building and shaping our community's workforce, and we're helping our neighbors skill up to find, advance in, and transition to new careers. And we're giving our high school students opportunities to earn dual high school and college credits so they can get a head start on their college education. Bellevue College is dedicated to continuing to do what we do best, providing high quality, affordable education to our students of all ages while addressing the needs of our community and the workforce demands of our companies. And so thanks again for your keen interest, your dedication, and support of Bellevue College. We can't succeed without you. Again, thank you. Now I'll turn it back over to Rebecca, and appreciate again your great support.
Wonderful. Well, I want to remind everyone that you can ask questions by using the raise hand function on the control bar, or you can use the Q&A function. If you are calling in on the phone and want to raise your hand, you do so by hitting *9. Let's see. All right, I don't see anyone yet. So Governor Locke, oh, here we go. All right. Diane has a question.
Do we need to unmute Diane?
Yeah, I think, Diane, can you unmute? All right, well, we'll come back to Diane, and let's go to Tom.
Oh, they couldn't hear me.
Good morning. Thanks for doing this event for the community. It's interesting. I have a couple of questions, so maybe I just put them out there, and if you don't want to answer them now, you can answer one or more and then do the other one later. I'm curious if you could give us one specific example of an advancement or achievement or success that you've achieved during this time of working remotely and being and within all these operating constraints that we find today. And then my second question, which is sort of related, is what kind of support, you've mentioned student success, but what kinds of supports have been put into place for students in this time of remote learning? And since I was at the college for a long time, I'm also thinking about both the faculty who've had to learn how to teach remotely if they weren't doing so already, and the staff who are either working without the camaraderie of their fellow Bellevue College employees, or they're maybe on campus in an almost eerie, deserted setting. So supporting students, faculty, and staff. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. I'm glad you raised that. It is really tough to be operating in this virtual online environment. The great thing about college campuses is the fact that you've got a setting where it's bustling with energy and enthusiasm of the students, curiosity, and also the mingling of faculty with their intellectual rigor, and people just, having bull sessions all around the campus, whether in the cafeteria, the coffee shops, or the corridors, and the pathways of the campus. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to this interim position. So I feel in some ways deprived of that excitement. But let me just say that this remote learning is in fact posing challenges to our students. And the foundation has really stepped up in a great way. With the pandemic, it has really had a financial impact on our students. 24% of our students are on some sort of financial aid. And most of those, many of our students are traditionally older with families working part-time. And so with the economic impact that the coronavirus has had, so many people have lost their jobs or had their hours reduced. And so their ability to support themselves and their families while attending college and paying tuition is more challenging. We've received some federal money under the so-called CARES Act that enabled us to provide some grants for housing assistance, just putting money, so giving them greater scholarships in essence, so they could afford to, put food on the table for themselves and their family and meet their housing obligations and responsibilities. But we've also found that working remotely, a lot of students don't have access to high-speed internet. They did their work on the campus and used the Wi-Fi systems of the campus. So we've had to work with telecommunications providers, and many of them in the area stepped up and provided huge discounts for a high-speed internet access. A lot of those programs have terminated by the cable companies and the telecommunications companies. So the foundation and some of the federal money that we received is being used to help backstop that. With respect to faculty, the same thing. Now, the great thing is that we were able to pivot very quickly to an online teaching environment compared to, let's say, the kindergarten through 12th grade system and our high schools and so forth, because many of our professors were already using technology to deliver their courses, in part, not all, online. But so that knowledge of kind of the hybrid model and then switching entirely to an online environment made it a lot easier. And we just have to commend the faculty for their great work. But we're not resting on our laurels. Trying to provide instruction completely online is difficult and challenging. And so we have a whole host of programs, professional development for our faculty to figure out, to learn best practices, how to keep the attention of the students, how to engage the students so that they're all active within the online classroom environment. So we have a whole host of programs where we're really trying to beef up the quality of our instruction and not rest on our laurels. So that's just some of the things that I think we're very, very proud of, as well as the challenges of teaching in an online environment. Quite frankly, until the vaccine is readily available, we're probably going to remain online through at least, well, definitely winter quarter starting in January, and who knows, maybe even the spring quarter, which runs until the first part of June. So those are challenges. Those are challenges that we have. And it's taking a psychological toll on both faculty and students. But we're trying to address that as the best we can. And then just the overall successes of the college, the incredible increase in enrollments. As I indicated, our enrollments are down slightly, but compare that with the enrollment declines on average of about 15–17% across all the other community technical colleges in the state of Washington. Our enrollments are down only slightly, despite the huge drop in enrollments in international students. And we got to be very concerned about that, because, that's, if you don't have any so-called freshmen, first-year international students this year, well, next year, there won't be any in the second year. So we've got to make sure that we're trying to bring back international students, starting first-year international students next year. Otherwise, our pipeline is going to dry up. And they provide such incredible income to our campus, which then subsidizes the cost of instruction of our in-state students, because state contribution or the state allocation does not fully cover the cost of educating an in-state student, which is why we're always relying on outside sources of income to make up what the state and tuition do not cover. And again, we were able to offset that huge decline in international students because of the incredible increase in enrollments in Running Start and our bachelor's program and other ones. And that really speaks to the quality and the reputation of Bellevue College. So the credit really goes to the faculty and staff of the college.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Governor Locke. Next, we have a question from Ross Hunter. Go ahead, Ross.
Okay. Good to see you, Governor Locke.
Hey, Ross.
So you said you had an 18% increase in the BS enrollees, which is totally awesome. but they're kind of expensive programs. I just wondered like where the money came from for that.
Well, that's why we have some big budget challenges over the next few years. These are highly technical programs, whether it's in the healthcare area or computer sciences. Trying to attract faculty in some of these high demand, very competitive fields is tough. We got a little bit, the state got a little bit, well, the state provided all the community technical colleges some extra money to ensure that we could attract faculty who are being pulled away and being lured by whether it's the University of Washington or other four-year schools or even the private sector. So we got a little bit of money there, but that's as we look to the out years, the cost of these programs will exceed our expected revenues, which is why we're engaged in this budget stakeholder review group, really looking at what are the core programs of our college, what do we need to maintain, enhance, or even enhance, and how do we pay for it? And does that mean making cuts or reductions in programs that are of lesser priority? All the things that we have on the campus are really important, but we've got to start prioritizing and figuring out which is more important and where the demand is among our students for some of these programs. So the short answer is that we had some temporary money from the state. We hope that it will continue, that we can use to pay for these high demand or very expensive courses, to pay for faculty as well as the labs and things like that. But we have some budget challenges ahead of us.
All right, we'll turn to Roger Molden.
Thank you, Rebecca. So actually, Diana's here with me too, but my question for Governor Locke has to do with the last subject on student success and in this online environment. There's great results for the overall enrollment. Did we see normal return from spring to fall for students that were continuing with us?
We're trying to measure that right now, and we'll have our data within hopefully a few weeks to make sure that the students that were with us last year are here. We call that so-called persistence, and we want to increase that so-called return rate. So that's very, very important to us. We have to also recognize that a lot of students are not going to return because, let's say last spring, we have students that are taking courses like myself. Let's say if I want to take an accounting course, just because I've always wanted to take an accounting course, and I enroll for an accounting course, or maybe I want to take a history course or learn a foreign language, I have no intention of coming back the following year. We also have a lot of students, because of the corona virus, took courses. They normally attend another college. Let's say they attend Georgetown University or USC, and being home, they wanted to, actually a better example is students have some sort of medical emergency or a family situation, and they come back home, and they want to continue their education and maintain some credits, and then transfer those credits on back to their home institution. And so we have a lot of students doing that every single year. So we need to actually get a better handle on the makeup of our students and what their goals are and why they're enrolled at Bellevue College. And then for those that are looking at a 2-year or a 4-year program, are they coming back every single year to complete their degree or their certificate? And so far, we're not seeing a big drop in the students in terms of students returning. And our goal is actually to improve the percentage of students who are enrolled in multi-year programs to make sure that they come back.
Great, thank you. So I do have one other question regarding your interim status. What's the status on a permanent, and are you in play on that?
Well, that's actually something that the Board of trustees are in the midst of discussion. And so they haven't said anything. And so we'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, just a reminder to, if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand by using the raise hand function in the control bar, or you can type it into the Q&A option as well. And if you're on the phone, it's *9. So we have a question that was sent in, and the question is, while all students are facing challenges, our Dreamers challenges are exponential. What is your commitment to Dreamers?
Well, I very much support Dreamers. In fact, the state of Washington has really been in a leader in that by saying that Dreamers are eligible for financial aid along with other students, and there's no differentiation between Dreamers and other in-state residents. In fact, when I was governor of the state of Washington, there was a piece of legislation that would have made it much more difficult for Dreamers by saying that students who are undocumented would not qualify as in-state students in terms of the tuition that they would pay. So they would be treated as out-of-state students and therefore have to pay higher tuition. The language of that legislation was written in such a way that if I vetoed out certain sections, it would actually flip the meaning of the legislation. And I vetoed out certain sections, which then had the effect of saying that Dreamers would in fact be treated as in-state students and Washington state residents, and therefore eligible for making very clear that they would be paying only in-state tuition rates. So I've long had an interest in making sure that all residents and all people within our state, whether they're documented or undocumented, should be able to realize the American dream of a college education. It's always been my motto that with education, regardless of your income level, your ethnicity, your gender, we're all on a more level playing field. And I really believe that college education is part of that American dream. And we should not be penalizing people, young students who came here at a very, very early age. And we should give them every opportunity to succeed and really lift their families out of poverty and give them every chance of success.
Wonderful. It looks like Steve Miller has his hand up.
Thank you, Governor. Long-term, higher education and community colleges face challenges from a changing landscape in terms of competition and the rapidly evolving needs of employers. How do you see directions that BC can move to add value to students' lives and compete successfully in this new future that we're ending?
Well, thanks, Steve. And I know that you, when you were a chairman of the Board of Trustees, had really launched an initiative to really look at what is the role of the Bellevue College in this changing technological environment. And of course, Ross Hunter, when he was on the Board of Trustees, was also pushing Bellevue College to offer four-year degrees. And Bellevue College has been a trailblazer in that area and has really been an incredible leader in terms of expanding the type of courses that we offer. And now many colleges, community colleges across the state, offer a few bachelor's degree programs, not as many as Bellevue College does, but certainly all of you have had an impact in broadening the scope and the mission of our community technical colleges. I think obviously in the future, when people are bombarded with advertisements on cable television and on the internet with all these institutions that offer degrees solely online, that Bellevue College has to respond. And we have actually an opportunity using the internet and technology and the experiences that we're learning during this COVID-19 pandemic to offer even more courses to students all around the country so that they can take these courses at whatever time they want. When the kids have gone to bed or on weekends after they've worked, et cetera, to take courses in almost any subject matter that they want and get a degree. So we are being challenged with competition from these other colleges. And we need to make sure that our courses and our programs are affordable, competitively affordable, but also very high quality, so that employers can rely on that degree from Bellevue College as the good housekeeping seal of approval. Many of our courses, many of our courses are already being offered nationwide, asynchronously, which means that, you can take it at any time. It's basically pre-recorded. I think we're going to see more hybrid type courses that will be offered, so that people can take courses over the internet, and maybe some of it is asynchronously at whatever convenient time they find. And then there might be some laboratories or classroom discussions live with a college instructor at other times during the week. I also think that we need to really look at the changing dynamics of technology and the challenges that's going to bring into the workplace. With artificial intelligence, it's estimated that anywhere from 5 to 10% of the world's workforce will be displaced in 10 years because of AI, artificial intelligence. Now, that's probably, that's for the entire world workforce, but that's really not going to affect the workforce in Myanmar or the Congo or maybe Vietnam. And so does that mean that the 5 to 10% displacement will be even bigger or larger, more substantial in the advanced industrialized countries like the United States? Could it be 8 to 12% of our workforce will be displaced in 10 years due to artificial intelligence and robotics? So that means that colleges like Bellevue College need to start working with private employers or companies and governments to start preparing for that, and perhaps working with the private sector and government to offer programs of job training and retraining, because we don't want to wait 10 years until people are out of work. And we need to start thinking ahead about how we can upgrade the skills of workers so that they can adapt to the changing technology, so that they can still have a job and support their families. So those are some of the challenges that we have. So we've got to get ahead of curve on the challenges of technology. And number two, we need to start figuring out how we can compete in an affordable way, but providing high quality instruction to students all around the United States, and certainly within our region, using technology like the internet.
Fantastic. Question from Carol in the Q&A. President Locke, could you please describe a bit more in detail the 10-point framework that you mentioned that support the DEI initiatives? Thank you.
Yeah, the 10-point framework put together to address anti-Blackness policies and practices on the college campus. And this 10-point framework was put together by an ad hoc, a group of Black employees and students. Things like getting more counselors that would be more sensitive and understanding and could help address the needs of our students of color, especially Black students of colors. Having more training specifically focused on the issues that Black faculty, staff, and students face, that the Black community faces in the country. Reviewing all of our policies and practices in terms of promotion and retention and evaluation and hiring to ensure that there's no implicit bias built into some of these practices and procedures. Even creating a response team, a campus response team to any incidents of racism or discrimination or acts of discrimination or violence even on campus.
Okay, we have another question from an anonymous attendee. Governor Locke, my question relates to your interim role. I appreciate you saying you've been deprived of some in-person activities on campus during these times. And I would say we, as a Bellevue College community, have been deprived as well without you being able to be on site and interacting with our students, faculty, and staff. Given the importance of working with people to address especially the racial equality and inclusion issues, will you consider a longer term as interim president?
I am open to serving longer if that is within the plans of the Board of Trustees, and that's their decision. I was brought on initially or originally to serve until the end of June or until a new president is installed. But I am willing to stay on longer because, like I said, part of the attraction was to really be on campus and to experience the excitement, curiosity, dynamism of the students, as well as the intellectual rigor of the faculty. Plus, quite frankly, there are a lot of things that we've launched that are underway that I'd like to make sure get finished or are well underway. And I'd like to see some of these things through if at all possible, but the decision is up to the Board of Trustees.
Great. Another submitted question. What do you see as the greatest impacts to Bellevue College in light of the presidency change for our nation?
Well, I hope it's a tone. I mean, we are a bitterly divided nation, bitterly divided, roughly 50-50. I mean, yes, President-elect Biden has a lead or got about 4 or 5 million more votes than President Trump, but it's basically, 51%, 49%, and that's hard to govern. That is really hard to govern. And but I think what messages coming out of the White House really do matter. They really do matter, and it's the tone that you send around the world. Are we welcoming international students to the United States? Will we be imposing visa restrictions and making it difficult for international students to come to America? What are we doing in terms of trying to bring the different factions of the country together? I mean, how can we really focus on common issues of concern to each other? How do we try to heal the nation over the racial divide and the discrimination and the violence and the racism that's been exposed this past summer and spring with a lot of the deaths of Black Americans at the hands of the police? How do we get our economy back together again and get our economy up on its feet and getting companies and workers back to 100% full bore and at full tilt? At the same time, trying to tame this pandemic and this virus. We're now seeing record hospitalizations, record positive cases. We're now probably going to be approaching more than 1,000 deaths a day. And this is on the minds of everybody, and it's having an impact on families and companies and friends and neighbors. And so we've got to figure out how to get these issues behind us. So this is a really tough time for an incoming president and for President-elect Biden. And but I just hope that a more positive, inclusive tone here at home and around the world will help us on a path toward healing.
Great. So we've been strong supporters of the college in the past. What, as the business community, can we do to support you and the efforts at Bellevue College in light of the current situation?
Well, your contributions through the foundation are just so very much appreciated because they provide funds for scholarships, programs to help provide technology or laptops and Wi-Fi, high-speed internet access for our students, and just recognition of our outstanding faculty with the Excellence Awards that the foundation presents every single year. Those are just incredibly valuable and highly appreciated on the campus. And really, you're impacting so many lives. Like I said, about 24% of our students are on some sort of financial aid. And these are students, I mean, the traditional community college student is typically older, oftentimes with family and working part-time. And so, economics and the struggles to put food on the table, pay the rent, and support the family while trying to do your studies is hard, and to pay the tuition is hard. So all your contributions really make a big, big, big difference, and you're really impacting lives of not just the students, but their entire families and future generations. The other thing that businesses can do is to really allow our students to serve as interns, even unpaid interns, to get a flavor of the job environment and the workplace. So, and with that internship and on the ground experience, in the workplace experience, they actually then have a better appreciation of the relevance and the value of what they're learning in the classroom, which makes them even better students, more focused, and with even greater skills when they graduate. And with those skills, they can be even more efficient, productive employees of your companies. So it's a win-win for both your companies in terms of internships, getting some help for your company, as well as providing real practical experience and motivation to our students.
Great. And then Bonnie has a comment. Thank you, President Locke, for tying the college's membership in achieving the dream and efforts to implement guided pathways with the college's equity work. These efforts are critical to ensuring equity in our students' outcomes.
Well, thank you very much. And it's, we can talk about equity and inclusion and diversity on the campus among faculty and staff, and certainly the makeup of the students. But if we're not graduating our students, if we're having a disproportionate number or percentage of our students of color or of low income or of socioeconomic groups not able to complete their college degree or certificate, then that is also an issue of diversity, equity, inclusion. And so we've got to focus on student success and making sure that all students, regardless of background, economics, gender, ethnicity, race, are able to realize that American dream of a college. And so we need to look at ourselves. I mean, are we putting up obstacles to the success of our students? Are we not offering the courses at the right time? Again, a lot of our students are working. And so are we trying to accommodate them as much as possible? So just as you in business say the customer is number one, we need to also take that approach too. Not that we lower our standards, but we need to make sure that our course offerings and our communications are very clear and focused on students, so they understand what is the sequencing of courses they need to take in order to graduate in a very timely, efficient manner. Are we requiring courses for graduation that really have no relevance to their particular major? Are we requiring too high or too onerous of a math course, let's say, to be in drama or in communications? And so that's all part of the guided pathways work, to make it very clear to students what they should be taking, even if they're not quite sure exactly what they want to focus on. But let's say they want to be in the healthcare area. So, but they're not sure which program in healthcare they're going to focus on. So what are some of the introductory courses that they can take and should take that would be relevant to all of the programs? And at the same time, do they know which courses they must take in certain sequences so that they can graduate on time? So that they don't have to spend an extra year on campus, costing them more money and consuming valuable time in terms of the launching of their career. So we need to look at our own practices. When I came, some of this work was expected to take almost 2 years. And I'm saying that is unacceptable. We should be able to figure this out among ourselves by the end of this spring, so that all the changes can be implemented by fall of 2021 to benefit the new group of students coming into Bellevue College.
All right. With millions of people out of work, what role can Bellevue College play to get our economy back and moving?
Well, anytime there's been a recession, there will be a surge, and there's always a lag in that surge. But there's a surge of enrollments in our community technical colleges. When the economy is really humming along, people say, I don't really need to go to college and upgrade my skills. I mean, employers were finding it very hard to get workers, and so they were taking just about anybody. And so people could say, hey, you know, I don't need to get advanced training. I can get this job right now. But when there's a downturn in the economy and people are laid off, people say, well, maybe I'll get recalled in a month or two or 5 months from now. But when you're seeing, for instance, the closure of so many restaurants, permanent closures of restaurants, and many other small businesses closing up permanently, people say, oh my gosh, you know, if I'm going to get a job, I better start, getting some skills or getting some retraining so that I can compete and apply for that job in that other company, or maybe I have to switch careers now. All right. And then others who do have a job are seeing the advent of technology and seeing how companies are trying to be more efficient and more productive. So they're saying, oh my gosh, I need to upgrade my skills so that I can stay within the company, so that I can move up within the company and not be laid off. And usually it takes maybe perhaps a year after the beginning of the recession for all of this to sink in, and for people really to schedule, make changes in their family schedules or work schedules so they could enroll into our colleges and universities. So we're going to see this enrollment uptick shortly. And if the state really wants to get unemployment down as quickly as possible, to get our economy back to a full tilt, then they need to understand that the community technical colleges need funding to support these students, to educate these students. Because tuition does not cover the full cost of educating a student in the state of Washington, whether you're going to the University of Washington, Wazoo, Western Washington, or Bellevue College. And so we rely on state funds to make up that difference.
All right, I'll remind people that you can use the raise hand function or on the phone *9 or type your questions in the Q&A. I have a question for you, Governor Locke. You've been a lifelong resident in Bellevue and you were familiar with Bellevue College. In your tenure here, is there anything that surprised you or that you didn't know about Bellevue College that you learned?
Well, actually, I'm not a lifelong resident of Bellevue. I'm a lifelong resident of the Puget Sound area. Grew up really born and raised in Seattle and went to Franklin High School in Seattle and have lived most of my life in Seattle, but moved out to the east side to the Bellevue area in about 2013. And so, but I love the east side. The rest of my family is all on the east side now. And but the one thing that really impressed me is just the breadth of programs that we have at Bellevue College. And we have some over, I think, 25,000 students that will be part of the Bellevue College community every single year. Now, some of these students are, right now we have about 12,000 students that are enrolled in the fall. They're pursuing full-time education, and they either want to get a 2-year degree and then transfer on to the University of Washington. We are, by the way, the #1 sender, I suppose, of transfer students to the University of Washington. And the University of Washington says that the transfer students coming from all the community technical colleges, of which Bellevue College is the largest, the graduation rate of those transfer students is around 90%, getting a 4-year degree at UW, compared to only about 79–80% of students who start as a freshman at the UW. So the community colleges are doing a great job, and particularly Bellevue College, in preparing our students to succeed at the 4-year institutions. So we have, we have students that are interested in a 1-year certificate program to upgrade their skills. People who are on public assistance wanting job training so they can get off of public assistance, to our 2-year transfer programs, to even our 4-year degree programs. And the fact that we have so many students that just want to come take an accounting course, 3-credit accounting course because they've always wanted to learn some accounting, or they want to take a history course, or they want to learn a language that they've always wanted to take. And our students are all the way from high school juniors all the way to people who are in their 70s. And so that is really amazing, something that I was not fully appreciative of.
Wonderful. And it doesn't look like anyone else has any questions. So Governor Locke, I want to thank you for your time. And again, I want to thank everyone for your commitment and dedication to our students. And thank you so much for taking time out this morning to join us. This event has been recorded, and we will send out information about how you can view it if you'd like to view it again. So with that, I'll just say thank you.